reading from the 12th chapter of Exodus, beginning with the first verse. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, "This month shall mark for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. Tell the whole congregation of Israel that on the 10th of this month they are to take a lamb for each family, a lamb for each household. If a house is too small for a whole lamb, it shall join its closest neighbor in a tiny one. The lamb shall be divided in proportion to the number of people who eat it. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a year-old male. You may take it from the sheep or from the goats. You shall keep it until the 14th day of this month. Then the whole assembled congregation of Israel shall slaughter it at twilight. They shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and the lintel of the houses in which they eat it. They shall eat the lamb that same night. They shall eat it roasted over the fire with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. Do not eat any of it raw or boiled in water, but roast it over the fire with its head, legs, and inner organs. You shall let none of it remain until the morning. Anything that remains until the morning you shall burn. This is how you shall eat it: your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And you shall eat it hurriedly. It is the Passover of the Lord. For I will pass through the land of Egypt that night, and I will strike down every firstborn in the land of Egypt, both human beings and animals. On all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgments. I am the Lord. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you live. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague shall destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. This day shall be a day of remembrance for you. You shall celebrate it as a festival to the Lord. Throughout your generations you shall observe it as a perpetual ordinance." The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
We'll read the psalm responsively as printed in the bulletin. I love the Lord, who has heard my voice and listened to my supplication.
For the Lord has been near to me whenever I call.
How shall I repay the Lord for all the good things God has done for me?
I will lift up salvation and call the name of the Lord.
I will fulfill my vows to the Lord in the presence of all God's people.
Precious in your sight, O Lord, is the death of your servants.
O Lord, truly I am your servant. I am your servant, the child of your handmaid. You have freed me from my bonds.
I will offer you a sacrifice of thanksgiving and call upon the name of the Lord.
I will fulfill my vows to the Lord in the presence of all God's people.
In the courts of the Lord's house, in the midst of you, O Jerusalem.
The second reading is a reading from the 11th chapter of 1 Corinthians, beginning with the 23rd verse. For I received from the Lord what I also handed on to you, that the Lord Jesus, on the night when he was betrayed, took a loaf of bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it, and said, "This is my body that is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, he took the cup also after supper, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink the cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes." The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
You may remain seated for the gospel acclamation.
The Holy Gospel according to John.
Now before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father.
Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end.
The devil had already put it into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him.
And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table,
Took off his outer robe,
and tied a towel around himself.
Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him.
He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet?
Jesus answered, "You do not know now what I am doing, but later you will understand."
Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet."
Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me."
Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head.
Jesus said to him, "One who is bathed does not need to wash, except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you."
For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, not all of you are clean.
After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you?
You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am.
So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet.
For I have set you an example, that you also should do as I have done to you.
Very truly, I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them.
If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them.
Now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him."
If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself, and will glorify him at once.
Little children, I am with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, where I am going, you cannot come.
I give you a new commandment, that
You love one
another, just
as
as
I
I have loved you. You
Also should love one another.
By
This everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another.
The Gospel of the Lord.
The deeper we go into Holy Week, the more and more familiar the gospel texts become. Tonight's words are especially familiar to our Christian journey. And so the challenge is to listen to these same words with a renewed ear, longing to hear the promises of God and the grace of Jesus Christ to come to us in new ways. Palm Sunday began to turn our attention to look toward our wooden destination by giving us a 30,000-foot view of what all this week will entail for us and for the world. Tonight, as you heard read amongst you, our gospel brings us down to the day-to-day experience, even moment by moment, of all that Jesus is teaching and leading and imparting on his disciples. Once again, the promises of life glorified in him are echoed throughout this text. The declarations Jesus is making on our behalf are so real and tangible that it is almost as if the water is being poured over our feet, even on this night. Now you may think of that and wonder, well, that's just gross. That's just nasty. Feet are and usually can be the most disgusting thing we have. But just think of what it means for Christ to wash your feet. Let's take a moment to contemplate what the Lord has done for us. The disciples are pretty shaken up by the actions of their teacher. Simon Peter is especially vocal about how this unsightly action of his friend and mentor just can't be processed. Jesus came to Simon Peter, who said, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You do not know what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said, "You will never wash my feet." The rest of the motley crew that is gathered in the upper room seems to be so dumbfounded that they said nothing worth reporting by the gospel writer. The mere fact that Jesus would be willing to take on the role of a servant and touch one of the most disgusting things in the ancient world, feet, would truly be exasperating for anyone. The dirt and sweat-encrusted, sandal-touting vehicles of the first century were cleaned only by the lowest of the servants of a household. Not a respected teacher, not a rabbi. Especially not a rabbi that could give sight to the blind, allow the mute to speak again, or give life to the dead. But this teacher, this rabbi, was going to be different. And if his followers were truly going to follow him, they were going to have to be different as well. They were going to have to learn to don their own towels and take on the role of a servant to truly get what was being taught. They were going to have to give up their high and mighty, their I'm too important to do things like that mentality. They're going to have to check it at the door. Why? Jesus answers in verse 14. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you also should do as I have done. Jesus looks at you. He looks at me, his disciples in this age. And he commands, even though we are not perfect, that we should do the very best our humanity will allow in loving and caring for others, doing what he is doing. That is the bar his example is set. On behalf of the world, Christ knelt down at the feet of those who had walked with him, who had lived with him, even the one who would betray him. And he became a servant of servants. Our baptismal calling, as disciples of his in this place, is to emulate that kind of compassion and love in our own lives. But we cannot be limited to only those who make us feel good inside. We are called to kneel at the feet of those who persecute, chastise, and even betray us. I would think that is by far the hardest part of our Christian journey. Embodying that kind of love of the neighbor. We are very good at loving those who love us back. But when it comes to loving those who believe, act, and take for granted what we share in this life together, we can often be found saying, someone else will find the love for that person. I just got to put up with them for the time being. Maybe your parents said that to you, huh? Should have been inscribed over the door in my bedroom. I just got to put up with you. My parents love me. I think. You can ask them on Sunday. But Christ is beckoning us to leave our comfort zones, to walk beyond what is socially and culturally acceptable, and find our way to the role of a servant. Because that is what Christ has done for us. Christ left behind the unimaginable powers of being the Son of God incarnate and humbled himself to the point of death, even dying for those who would betray, mock, and subsequently crucify him. Jesus says in verses 16 and 17, "Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them." Jesus' blessing is yours. If you are willing to let go of all those things that keep you from being who God has created you to be, and to become a part, an active part, a living part of God's activity in this world through Christ. Jesus asks us now to yield our own power as we might have it, or see that we might have it, and allow our hearts to lead the way. He pleads with us, even from his own cross, that we might find forgiveness in ourselves for those who hurt us, so that we might become vehicles of God's love and forgiveness in the world. And Christ promises that that when we allow love and service to be the currency by which we conduct our lives and our ways, we will find blessing. I hope and I pray that you will find blessing as you continue your journey through this Holy Week and into the Easter celebrations beyond.